Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear my voice? Okay, let's go to the chat. Can you hear me? Can you hear my voice? Okay, good. I can see the picture here. Can you hear my voice? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Okay. Okay, you can hear me now, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Let me turn off the video so we can preserve the bandwidth here. Okay. Okay. You don't need my video, right?
Okay. Just
Okay. So, okay, let me turn it off for now, and then we'll.
Okay. Can you call now? Hello?
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
Yes, okay.
Okay, so you want me to share the screen? That's what you want me to do?
Yes.
Okay.
I think you can see our attendance now, right?
Yeah, I can see everybody. How you doing, guys? Okay. Assalamu alaikum, ya bash. Okay. Okay, so let me just turn it on so people can see that. Okay, perfect. Let's go and share this, and then we'll be okay. Okay. Can I start, Sharif?
Yes.
Okay. Can we start now?
Yes. I already texted you through LinkedIn. You can check it now.
Say that again. I didn't get it.
Check your LinkedIn, please.
Okay, I don't know what. 1 minute here. I want to just. Do you see the full screen?
Yes.
Okay. So do you want to start the recording?
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Okay. So welcome everyone. This webinar is about myths, facts, and challenges facing blockchain technologies. My name is Professor Ahmed Banafa. I'm here. I live in San Jose, the heart of the Silicon Valley, and this is some information about myself. I don't know if you can see the whole information, but I'm very active in the field of Internet of Things and also blockchain, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity. I do a lot of media appearances with the ABC, NBC, Fox, and NBC and BBC. All of them is talking about this new technology and all the buzz around it. So I'm not going to waste your time. You will get a copy of this presentations. I'll send it to Sharif, inshallah, and he can get it. He can send it to everyone. So let's dive into the concept of the blockchain and see how the blockchain is a technology and will change so many of the aspects of business and society and technology as we go. I have two books in this technology. One of them already in the market, which was published last year, Secure and Smart Internet of Things, and the other one is coming in November 2019. It's specifically for the blockchain technologies. one of the main philosophies when you talk about new technologies is you need to explain it simply so you can show that you understand it. If you kept rumbling about it, if you kept talking about it and giving a story after a story, and you couldn't explain it well, then you don't understand it. You don't really appreciate every single aspect of it. And this is exactly what I tell my students, whether it's Stanford University or San Jose State or other universities that you teach at. You have to explain it in few words, and that's what reflects your understanding of the technology. And that takes me to the very basic underlying trends we have in the Silicon Valley. There are four important technologies that drive in the growth in the Silicon Valley, and you can find so many things under them. The first one is the Internet of Things, the IoT. The second one is the blockchain. The third one is the artificial intelligence, which includes the autonomous cars, quantum computing, you name it. And then you talk about the cybersecurity. So those are the four trends that we see that brings money, startups, and people are really focusing on in the Silicon Valley. My student, when they ask me if I would like to, where should I go if I would like to have chances 5 to 10 years from now, and I give them this diagram and I tell them, okay, pick one. See one of them that will be good for you, and specialize in one of the areas, and at least for the coming 5 years you're going to be guaranteed that you have some interest in the market. There is another way of looking at the four, so I call them the IBAC, the four trends. If you want to explain it in a simple terms, uh, IoT, Internet of Things, feels, blockchain remembers, never forget, and AI thinks, and the cybersecurity protects. So this is how you explain it to the business. So okay, you have an IoT that feels through the sensors, and you have a blockchain that will never forget whatever you write, into that in that ledger, and you have the AI thinks and give you insights, and the cybersecurity is protecting all of the other three. So, but what is the blockchain? What's exactly blockchain? One of the challenges to talk about blockchain is try to explain it in a way where people feel better about it and understand it and comfortable with it. My first answer for anybody who will ask me what is blockchain, I'll tell them blockchain is a software. So it's a bunch of codes, lines, you write them, you process them, that will give you certain outcomes. So that's takes this mysterious cloud around blockchain. Okay, it's a software, and I'm going to show you some examples of the codes for the blockchain. And that software, you use it in different applications. You have it as part of your supply chain. You have it as part of your applications. Whatever you have at the top of it, it's still the underlying technology. The most famous application for the blockchain is the Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency. And that's a different story. I'll touch on that one briefly when we talk about Facebook Libre. If you try to find a classical definition of blockchain, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get open distributed ledger, and you can read the rest of it. It is permanent. It's peer-to-peer, and that's fine. This is good. It just does not serve the purpose of why it is different. I mean, I can look at this one and say I can do something similar to this with databases, and I'm gonna cover the differences between databases and blockchain in coming slides. The best definition I ever seen for blockchain is actually came from a professor from MIT, Dr. Abel Sanchez, and he gave a fantastic definition for the blockchain. The blockchain itself is two parts. The first one is cryptography. The second one is human logic. Cryptography is whatever we have as an encryption. That's what we have everywhere. Password, firewalls, hardware, software. This is the cryptography side. We already have that. The new addition to the picture is the human logic, which is the consensus. I'll give you just an example of this to clarify the concept of the human logic. If I want to go inside the building where you guys, sitting there, and all I'm going to show somebody, if there is a security guard, at the door, I show him my ID and I'm in. It's exactly when you are trying to get into a certain website, your password, your username, your password, you're in. That is the centralized, that's the existing system. In the world of blockchain, that's not going to happen that way. Each and every one of you will have a list of names and a small picture of who should be in that meeting, in this gathering. So if somebody came into the, into the everybody is sitting there in that room, everybody will be looking at that list and say, okay, let me verify if this person should be here or not. So if you have if you have 100 people sitting in that room, then you're going to have this verification of 100 people, and they're going to talk to each other. And this is the consensus. So if this person name and picture is not on the list, you will find 5 or 6 people say, I don't see him. He's not supposed to be here. And then we kick that person out. This is the concept of the blockchain. This is the consensus, the agreement of 51% or more on the existing of the transaction or the validity of the transaction. And the nodes, which is each one of you as a computer has this application of the blockchain, they talk to each other. They use protocols. And those protocols, sometimes they call them gossip protocols, which is they sync with each other to look at the list. And if you look at the list and I'm not on the list, and you talk to the person next to you, say, listen, I don't see this guy here. Then you confirm it with the next person. That is the human logic. This is the addition to whatever we already have as an existing systems of cryptography encryption. We have now a second layer of the human logic. So this is just to give you some kind of visualization and why blockchain is very important. And there are so many problems associated with this, as you can imagine, but it's still growing. It's still at the early stage of the growth for the technology. The blockchain has five components. The first one is the cryptography, which is the encryption. We are using SHA-256, which is a well-known encryption techniques, and peer-to-peer network, consensus mechanism that I want to just explain to you, the ledger, which is the list of the names, and validity rules by saying this person should be here or not. That is the case for for the five components of the blockchain. Now, to understand the SHA-256 or the secure hashing algorithm 256, which is a well-known encryption technique. If you ever dealt with encryptions, you have seen this, or if you're in computer science, you know about this. This is just to explain that how it's really function. You have the plain text of Fox, or the red Fox runs across the ice, and then you have the hash or the encryption function, and that's going to give you a hash sum. This is what is in the system. This is what the system sees. This is what the system, the blockchain, the software recording as the information sent through the blockchain. The blockchain, when I say the block, it's actually blocked and chained. So the first block is called the Genesis block, which is the first block that built. And that has all the components we talk about them, the index, the timestamp, the hash, which is the encryption and the data. And I want to talk about a very important difference here. It's not just blocks that connected to each other. Whatever you have in the previous block will be encrypted and added to the next one. And whatever in the next one will be encrypted, whatever information. They take all this information, exactly like what we did with the Fox, and then what they're going to do, they encrypt it and add it to the next block. So if you change anything in one of the already issues blocks, then this is going to cascade to the rest of the blocks, and that can stop the process. And then you're going to have something called fork, where you are really taking an exit of it. You stop everything. You say, listen, after I sync all the nodes, I found that the information you have is different from the information I have. And you're talking about thousands of computers comparing the records. And if one of them does not have the same as the rest, that computer will be out. They say, you're out of the sync, you're out of the operation. So this is why we call them blockchain. To look inside a programming of a blockchain, this is a very simple program. It is very, very small in numbers of lines. And if you notice, you're going to see some of the information we talk about it in the blockchain in the previous slide. You see that timestamp, you see the transactions, you see the hash. All of these things are part of that. All what you're going to do is you're going to have an interface at the top of this program where you can enter this data or upload the file, and that file will be encrypted, and this will be part of the block. Another aspect of blockchain is something called smart contracts. And smart contract is actually a very powerful aspect of the blockchain that enables certain events. It makes the blockchain more dynamic. For example, I will never, process anything until I make sure that you are in this location with this information and with this at this time with this room temperature. And if I fulfill the parameters, then the block will process my request. So it's another addition to the blockchain to make it even smarter. And this is used mostly with the Ethereum platform because they're the people who are really invented the smart contract. How can you program in blockchain? You can program with any language you like. There is no limitation. It's just some of them are better and some of them are specifically made for the blockchain. The Bitcoin, the famous cryptocurrency, was programmed with a C++. You can use Python, you can use JavaScript, you can use Solidity, which is the one used by Ethereum for smart contract. You can use whatever program language you want. There are specific ones. There's something called Geth, which is used a lot with Ethereum, that if you are really interested in going deep into developing a blockchain platform, Facebook is creating a new programming language for the cryptocurrency called Move, M-O-V-E, and it's coming very soon. This shows you that any programming language can build it because you understand the structure of the block and you can do it very easily. My preferred programming language for the platform for the blockchain is the JavaScript because I can interface that one with the web. I can have some kind of web interface where people can use it and have it as a plug. The blockchain patents. The blockchain patents are an interesting concept of how many companies are really filing. This is filing, whether they've been approved or it is pending. If you look at the names, you're going to find that the first one is IBM, and for a good reason, because IBM themselves, they are leaders in the private blockchain technologies. They provide the services as blockchain as a service to so many companies. And we have Amazon coming after them. We have Microsoft. After that one, trying to catch up with them. The next one is Bank of America, and then you can look at the rest of the names. And this is just in the United States. If you go outside the United States, now you are dealing with companies like Alibaba, Tencent. All those companies are really well advanced in the patent or in the filing for the blockchain. 3 tracks of the blockchain technology, and I'm going to go over them very quickly. The first one is what we do at the universities, which is R&D, research and development track. And that's, technically speaking, just trying to find new consensus protocols, trying to find a better way to make the blockchain faster, scalable, less processing time and power. And that is what the universities and the companies are doing to find the next better way of doing blockchain. The second one, which is the most common, the second track is talking about immediate business benefit track. It means it has 2 levels. Number one is the companies are trying to understand what is the blockchain. This is number one. And number two, how is that going to help us in our product and services? I'll give you an example of this. I give presentations in many of the companies here in the Silicon Valley. The last one I did was for a company called Thermo Fisher, a well-known company, in the medical field. They're looking for a way for them to understand what is this blockchain technology and how can they apply it to their supply chain, return products. And I gave that presentation, and after that presentation, the vice president of the company, he came to me and he told me, now I understand it. Now, what's next for me? And I told him, I gave him some, pointers to follow so he can go to the next level and try to have a pilot program about the blockchain in that big company. The third one is the long-term transformational potential track. This one is for the venture capitalists, for the bankers, for the investors. They're looking for the next technology. Okay, now we have the blockchain. What is next after that? How can the blockchain take us to the next level? So those are the 3 tracks for the blockchain. The blockchain versus database, it's a very common question. How can I distinguish between blockchain technologies and database? There are a lot of overlap, areas, but if you want to look at exactly what does that mean, that's going to explain to you. I'm not going to spend that much time on the details, but they differ in many ways. The authority, architects, data handling, integrity, transparency, cost, and performance. For example, authority is for database. you know that there is an admin, and that admin will control everything. It's centralized. While the blockchain is decentralized, there's no centralized approach. And I give you the example of each one of you is, technically speaking, considered as the admin, where you can compare the data with others and say, this person should be here or not. This data is valid or not. The architect of this is a client and server for the database, which is the structure of the internet, the structure of all the networks we have. The blockchain is a distributed ledger network, nodes everywhere. There is no main server that they get all the information. Each and every one of you have equally information. The third one is the data handling. For the case of the blockchain, you only have two options. You read and write. So if you write, you just read. If you read, you cannot write to that block. It's there, it's sitting, you move on to the next one. In the case of the database, you have the four, which is the four concepts. If you took any databases classes, you've seen this many times: create, read, update, and delete. All the four functions in the blockchain. Integrity. We hear about a lot of data breaches to the databases, of whether it's SQL, whether it is no SQL. You have all these. For the case of the blockchain, it's actually, the integrity is very high, because you have to hack and convince over 51% of the nodes to change this data so it can be accepted. So if you have 1,000 nodes scattered all over the world, different geographic areas, it's going to be very hard for you. And this brings me to the very concept of the blockchain. Blockchain is not actually technology made to make it impossible of hacking. It's to make it difficult. So economically, it's not worth it. And a simple example of this, if somebody want to rob the bank, because the money is there, if you go to the bank and you see all the snipers at the top of the bank and you have all the police cars around it, you can still, get into the bank, but it's going to be very hard for you, to get the money and it's not even worth it. And this is the whole thing about the blockchain. It's so hard for you to change the mind of thousands of nodes and ask them to change the information so you can get, your new information in. And this is when we talk about integrity. It's very important to keep this in mind. Transparency. It's open. And open means you can see the encryption of the transactions. You can see it's going from this party to this party with an encrypted names, and you can see the transaction. There is a data transferred from point A to point B. Database is not transparent because somebody has to give you the privilege to access this as an admin and see this data. The cost. Blockchain is expensive. There's a lot of things associated with that. We're still at the beginning. Implementation, there's a lot of issues with it. Well, I'm going to talk about the challenges at the end of the presentation. The database is an old technology and it's very easy. I mean, it's available, you can download it, you don't have to pay that much for it because there's so many companies offering this technology. Blockchain is slow because of the case of the different nodes. They have to sync with each other. The same thing happened when similar to the example I gave you about everybody has to talk to every node saying, do you see this person in your list? While in the case of the database, it's extremely fast and it's have a huge scalability. For blockchain, scalability is an issue. So this is a very quick review comparing the blockchain and the database. Applications for the blockchain, I'm not going to talk about all of them, but you can recognize some of them. For example, you can look at something like the digitization of the documents as an application where you can digitize the data and then store it in the blockchain and it's saved. Digital identity, order fulfillment for the supply chain, and so on. And this is the case of the use of the blockchain with the different applications. Three types of blockchain. The first one is the private, the second one is public, and the third one is federated or hybrid. The public is like the Bitcoin, the Ethereum, which is open for anyone. Today you can go to their network, download their app, and you're part of the network. For the private, I have an echo here. Sharif, I have an echo. Okay. The private one is like IBM. IBM, they will come to your company and they will ask you how many nodes you'd like to have. 500 nodes, and they will assign them. And those are win-known nodes. You know who the owners of the nodes. The federated is a combination of both. The government, banks, they will love the federated or the hybrid kind of the blockchain, because you will have a private blockchains and they can talk to each other. So and they'll do their own stuff by themselves, but there is a chance for them to exchange the information. And this is the third type of the blockchain. The whole thing about blockchain started with this paper with Satoshi Nakamoto. Nobody knows if this is a real name, a real person, a real organization, but I encourage you to go to the website of Satoshi Nakamoto Institute, and you go to that website and you will find tons of information. It's in different languages. They give you a lot of links to the new development in the blockchain. One interesting observation about this paper, and this paper was in 2008. Uh, you can read that paper. Is about 7 or 9 pages. The catch about it is, if you read this paper, you will never see the word blockchain. The only thing you're gonna see there, you're gonna read, is Bitcoin, you know, cryptocurrency, chain, but there's no mention of the blockchain. The blockchain concept came later after this paper was published. The blockchain history, the concept is not new. I worked on the distributed computing back in the 19, when I was doing my master and PhD in Pennsylvania. This concept of the distributed computing was available at that time, where you have multiple computer processing. And if you progress, you're going to see that we went all the way until today, which is 2018, 2019, which is the implementation. Now, people are hearing about this technology. People are using all technologies to create the blockchain, and now we're talking about the implementation. And another observation, I want you to think about it for a second. Just give yourself a chance to reflect on this. If you think about the concept of cryptocurrency, like the Bitcoin or the Ethereum, it's not a new idea. I mean, the whole thing about the civilization, when it started at the beginning, we used to have those tribes. They exchange goods and services with their own currency. If you take that currency and you go outside the tribe territory, nobody will accept it. This is the same situation we have now with the Bitcoin. Not everybody accept that. So the technology took a 360-degree, round technology. The same thing happened with the blockchain. If you look at, it's back in the 90s, and actually back to the 60s, when we talk about AI, talk about crypto, about cryptography. So the technology evolve and repeat itself from time to time. Good news about the, for anybody who's looking at the blockchain at their future, the blockchain developers is #1 emerging job in 2018, last year, at LinkedIn. The growth is 33 times, not 33%, 33 times. It's 33 folds the increase of the jobs posted for the blockchain developer positions. But at the other side of the coin, they survey the CIO, the chief information officers for many companies, and they found that the implementation of the blockchain, and I'm talking about an implementation, the project is done, is only 3.3% in 2018. This year we still have to see what will be that number, and this is good news and bad. It's very small percentage. At the same time, it is really a very good news for us, because in marketing we talk about the product life cycle. We're talking about the 4 stages for the product life cycle. We talk about the introduction, growth, maturity, and decline. The blockchain is just entering the growth area. So we still have a long time for us, to go through the second stage of the product life cycle. The key thing about the process here is you're catching this wave at the beginning of the growth. But there's so many opportunities for you as a startup, as a company, as an individual, to see that the future is with the technology like this. You can update your skills, or you can add a new product to your company, because this is for the coming few years. It's gonna be the technology that we're looking at. In 2019, and Ernst & Young, the famous innovation leader, he was asked about the blockchain, where you see the blockchain technology in 2019 and beyond. This is how he explained. He said that in the past 18 months, we have been moving through, explain this to me, phase the PowerPoint into prove it to me, which basically the pilot program. This is how people are looking at it now. We exited the case of, you know, I need to know the technology. First time I heard about it, to say, okay, I understand it. Can you now take me to the next level? Can we have a pilot program about it? The use cases for the blockchain are very specific, and there are 4 of them. Verification and guarantee, that's number 1. The second one is tracking. The third one is transfer. And the fourth one is certified. So if you are looking for a use case for a blockchain in your organization, in your company, it should be one of those 4, because this is what is done by the, it can guarantee and verify the data. It can also assist in tracking the product, and also can transfer the assets, the digital assets, and can certify the claims, like the certificate, like your degree, like the documents you have, the identity. All of these things can be certified using the blockchain. The stack of the blockchain, I don't know if we have anybody as a developer or software engineers or computer science, in the audience, but you're gonna appreciate it. The stack is of the blockchain is a way for you to see where is the next opportunity for you. And I'll give you a second to look at this and see what does that mean. If I'm looking for, you know, an entry to the market, I would like to see where I can find my next niche in the market. I could be going to the top by having you know, the user interface, or I can just go to the application layer, and that's the smart contract. I can create those smart contracts, or have the dApps, the decentralized applications, or I will be focusing on the core of the blockchain, which is the ledger, the consensus protocols, creating the node, the mining, the token. All of these things will be part of that at the top of the internet. So the stack here will show you where the companies is actually entering the ecosystem of the blockchain. Libre, Facebook. It's about 25 minutes from where I'm talking to you guys, the offices of Facebook. They created Libre, the cryptocurrency, and they faced by tremendous backlash at them, because Facebook has some issues with keeping data and protecting data, and they use stable coin as the basis for them to create Libre. The best definition for...
Hello?
Sharif? Yes.
Yes. Just hold 1 minute. I just need to check the internet connection, because the internet connection is not stable. Just 1 minute, okay?
Sure. No problem.
Okay,
Take your time.
Dr. Ahmed?
Yes.
Yes. Can you speak now?
Yes. Do you want me to turn off my video? Maybe that will help in the bandwidth.
Yes, sure. If you never mind, yes.
Okay. Is that better now? Okay. Cool. Okay. So should we continue now?
Yes, everything is okay. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. So best definition of Libre, the cryptocurrency of Facebook, is Libre is something between Bitcoin and PayPal. And if you used PayPal, you know that you have to pay some fees. So how is that manifest itself? It is a cryptocurrency without the fluctuation and speculations of Bitcoin. It goes, you know, all the way from 4,000 to 10,000 down to 9,000, and a payment service without fees of PayPal. This is how they presented their cryptocurrency at Facebook. And Libre has a big potential if it's done correctly, which is time will tell in this case. Facebook has 2.4 billion users, and they have Visa on board for the cryptocurrency, and Visa has over 2 billion credit card issued. And also they have about over 40 million merchant that using the Visa services. And the second company is Vodafone, and it's they have 444 million customers. Uber has 91 million riders. So if you add all the numbers here and you offer this cryptocurrency, this service to them, we are hitting close to 4 billion people could use this kind of service, and that's a huge base for them to target. But this is their main goal. Now, Libra, or the Libra.org, which is the organization created by Facebook, based in Switzerland, so they can run and control Libra, or the cryptocurrency, as a mix of companies. And you can recognize some of the logos here, from MasterCard to Visa, Spotify, eBay, Stripe, all those companies, profit, nonprofit, big, small companies, all of them are really part of this organization. This slide will show you the categories from investment to social telecommunications, e-commerce. So trying to gather as many people or as many companies as possible for them, so they can approve this kind of cryptocurrency, because they know that this will be the next digital money, or digital cryptocurrency for the rest of the world to use. The programming language used to create Libra is something called Move programming language, and I managed to get some of the codes for the P2P payment, for depositing the cryptocurrency, for the withdrawal uh, of the cryptocurrency. They are not difficult. It's really very similar to the Rust programming language. If you're in that field, you know what I'm talking about. It's very simple, straightforward, close to the natural language. Anybody can learn that. Anybody can create their own program in this case. Okay. Just to summarize the concept of Libra, it's a decentralized open source. It's open, for the developers. It's a low volatility cryptocurrency, and it's a smart contract platform. Now I'm going to go to a very important topic, which is the challenges facing blockchain. There are many. There are many of them, but we're going to cover a few that really the main concept. The first one is the 51 attack, which the one that I talk about it. If you have 100 people in that room, I have to talk to 51 plus out of them to convince them to change the information in their nodes. And private key security, because when you are creating encryption, you have a public key, the one that you give it to people to send you the information or the money or the document, and you have your private key that will decrypt that information. And the criminal activity, which is the reputation of the blockchain. The blockchain, at least here in the United States, is really associated with the ransomware. And the ransomware is somebody takes over your computer, and then they ask you to pay them, so they can give you the encryption or decryption code, so you gain access to your computer. And they ask people to pay with cryptocurrency, because cryptocurrency, once you send it, it's over. They can go and cash that one somewhere, and the police or the FBI, they can do nothing about that. Double spending, which is two transactions at the same time. It's exactly like cashing the same check twice at different banks. And the rest of it, I'll cover this one in the next slide. The rest of it, the more challenging, which makes sense for the business more than the technical part. The scalability. Scalability is a big problem. Scaling up the blockchain network is always a challenge. Companies are working in this, and this is an open door, an open opportunity for so many of the startups to work on the scalability issue. There are so many suggestions. One of them is something called sharding. And horizontal sharding is a technique used in databases. If you study databases, you know that sharding is one way for you parts of the data on different different files, so you can scale it up and make the processing faster. The processing time also an issue, because you have to sync with every node in the network, and if it's a big network, that's gonna take more time. Processing power. If you are using a concept like the proof of work, and I don't want to go to the details of this one, but it's really consuming a lot of hardware power for you, and needs a lot of processing power. Storage is not a problem now, but in the future will be. Regulation is a big thing, and we have seen this one 2 weeks ago here in the United States, where the Congress is going after Facebook about the regulation of their new cryptocurrency, the perception of the blockchain associated with Bitcoin, and also what we have now. And thanks to Sharif for organizing this. I mean, lack of skilled staff, without the knowledge of the significance and the importance of the blockchain, that we will have this shortage, and we still have that shortage. There's few universities in the United States are teaching blockchain as a class. They are teaching it under cryptocurrency or as part of another encryption class, but we don't have a dedicated one in most of the universities, and we don't have a degree. I mean, only one university in the United States degree as a blockchain engineer. The last problem is the first mile and the last mile problem. The first mile is something called garbage in, garbage out. If you give me a corrupted data, if you give me an information which is wrong, I'm going to write it into the blockchain, and that's it. I cannot change it. So before you get into the network, you make sure that you have the right data. The same thing goes when you receive the data at the end after passing through the blockchain network. Somebody can manipulate that one and change it. So those are some of the problems or the challenges facing the blockchain. Comparing the careers for the blockchain, this will be a very very short section. In order for you to really gain an advantage in the blockchain field as somebody who's working in this one, you need four things. You need to have the business mind, which is what we are doing now, trying to understand the concept of the blockchain and its perspective, the challenges. So when you sit and talk with somebody about it, you know what you're talking about. And remember my first slide. If you cannot explain it simply, you don't understand it. And then the tech literacy, which you need to know what is encryption, you need to know about the node, you need to know about the programming, and the data analysis. When you get this data, which data will be the most important data for you to add it to the blockchain? And the hacker mentality. The fourth one, the hacker mentality, is because it's a new technology, we don't have that much information about it. You have to learn the technology on the fly, which means as we advance in the technology, as there's a new information coming up, and you take that information, you analyze it, you understand it, and you move on to the next one. You cannot find a source or have all the information you need about the blockchains. Keep changing every day. So if you have the four pillars here for you to think about the blockchain and to upgrade your skills to be an expert, or at least consider blockchain as part of your future, those are the four skill sets you need. A quick search about the jobs for the blockchain in San Jose and Palo Alto and San Francisco in the Bay Area is IBM is looking for an architect. Visa Research is looking for somebody as a scientist, and they look for analysts, in different companies. Developers is another name that you will see it for the blockchain engineer, and project manager, and also lawyers and attorneys. We need them because of the smart contract. Because when you talk about translating the different scenarios and different possibility for a business transaction, from the legal point, you need an attorney, you need a lawyer, you need a legal consultant. That person will tell you, add this to the program. As a programmer, as a software developer, you don't have that skill. You need to have this one coming from the experts. The average salary for this is an annual one, this is a yearly salary for the blockchain position is 146,000, and it's span in a big, between 58,000 a year to $234,000 a year. Last one I'm going to talk about is the 7 mistakes you need to avoid in blockchain projects. The number one is misunderstanding or misusing the blockchain technology. If you don't understand the technology, if you don't know the basic concept of it, if you don't know what is it, you're gonna be paying a lot of money and not using all the features of the blockchain platform. There are a lot of key features for the blockchain: the decentralized, the consensus, the tokenization, the smart contract. If I don't know what is that, if I have no idea about it, I look at it as just a database, then I'm paying the price, a high price for a database I can get almost for free. So you need to understand it first before you even start that project. Make sure you're comfortable with it, you understand what is it and for what, and the different use cases before you can propose that one or try to use it in your company or your organization. The second was is assuming that it is ready for production. It's not. We still have so many, and I showed you that diagram. It's still entering the growth period. I mean, how many times in your life you will catch a wave at the beginning of that wave? This is like the 1996 when the internet entered the consumer market. Nobody looks at it. Nobody considered it. Even Microsoft, they dismissed the internet, and that's why they struggled for about 15 years until they catch up with it. So the technology itself is not ready yet. There's so many problems associated with it, but you are really at the beginning of this wave. Uh, a third one, which is important one, you have to understand that the blockchain is a foundation level technology. That means, what does that mean? It means it is not a standalone business application. You have to have few things at the top of it before you can package it as a complete application. I showed you the stack of the blockchain. So if I am thinking about programming something to run my supply chain, then I need an interface where people can have that interface, a user interface, and I need a user experience, and I need another way for me to get this information after it's done. So it's in the middle. It's a foundation. You can build so many things at the top of it. And that's very important to keep in mind. It's not like something you're going to take it and just deploy it and you're done with it. The fourth one is viewing the blockchain purely as a database or storage mechanism. Big mistake. There's so many things associated with it. It's designed to provide, immutable, trusted event arising out of dynamic collection of untrusted parties. And the price is too high to pay it for the blockchain if you're going to use it just for storage or for database. Assuming that the different blockchain network are talking to each other, they don't. The only way for them to talk to each other is a new technology called Cosmos, and that one is still in the process. And not every company actually will accept that. So they're not talking to each other. So if you go with IBM, you are stuck with IBM. If you go with Microsoft, that is the ecosystem you're going to be dealing with. Number 6 is assuming that smart contract technology is a solved problem. We still have a lot associated with it. And the reason for this is smart contract has many concepts. One of them is the legal concept. How can I translate it to a smart contract? The last one is ignoring the governance. Who's responsible for the mistakes? There are many famous stories about problems that happen with the blockchain. One of them cost a company 15 million. Another one is the famous story of that investor in Canada who has all the money of the investors and in cryptocurrency in his wallet, in his account, 107 million in cryptocurrency, and he died. And he's the only one who knows the password, and the money is still there. Nobody can access it. There is no way for you to access that. He's the only one who can give you the password or give you access, and nobody knows his private key, so they can change the password. So that's the governance for the private blockchain. I mean, for the if you're talking about blockchain networks, the public one like Bitcoin or Ethereum, they only talk about the technical issues. They don't talk about the hacking. They don't talk about the human behaviors or the motivation. The applications, there are many applications for the blockchain. For example, it can be used with the Internet of Things. The Internet of Things has 4 components or 4 elements: the sensors, the network, the platform, and the applications. You can use the blockchain to register all the information sent from the sensor to the network to the cloud and to and from the applications. The next one is the companies that are really using the blockchain are really vast number of companies here in the United States. You're talking, if you look at the names, you're going to find names like JP Morgan, IBM, Amazon, and Microsoft, and the pilot program for companies like UPS or Federal Express. MIT is one of the first universities that will give you 2 degrees. One of them is the paper degree that you take it home, and the other one is the digital one, where the businesses can join the blockchain network of MIT. So if I want to go and apply for a job, I don't have to send them a copy of the transcript, or they don't have to verify this one. All I'm going to show them is the QR code in the app. I have it from MIT, and that will verify that I graduated from that school, and this is my degree. You don't have to go through the process of verification. The next one is the Walmart. The Walmart is using the blockchain for something called IBM Food Trust to track the food from the farms to the users, to the absolutely to the stores. So if something happened, they can track it back and see where is that contamination happened on, and stop that farm. The last one, I'm not the last one. The use of the blockchain and advertising is really fascinating. How can you record the the number of the views if somebody is watching the video and you pay in that star, that YouTube star, about how many views? A million views, I'll give you that much money. There is a protocol called proof of view where you can have conditions in the smart contract. Only the people who signed up. You can watch only one screen of video of that show, and also there is a sampling of the video to make sure that it's the right video. And if the three conditions satisfied, that's considered a valid view. If you can have a million of it, the superstar will get that information. The blockchain can be and used a lot in the supply chain. You start from the beginning with the information of the factory all the way until you receive it, at the store. DocuSign, which is documentation company, use it. Starbucks using this one, this technology. Ticketmaster using this, and even the United Nations is supporting a big a project for the refugees in Jordan, the Syrian refugees, for give them identification. They left their country, they have nothing, so they have to use the biometrics to give them some kind of identification. They can print it, and then if you want to leave, they have some kind of verification based on in a very valid ways of verifying this person is the right person. They return drugs. Problem here in the United States, about $7 to $10 billion. SAP is helping with that by using an app called Advanced Track and Trace for pharma, and this one will identify the drugs when they return to the company. If it's unused, they identify it, so nobody will send them a medication and get the refund for nothing. Okay, I'm done with my presentation. This is my contact information. You are more than welcome to join me in LinkedIn. This is my email at San Jose at Stanford, and this is my my Twitter handle. Sharif, I'm done. I'll keep this information up.
What's the difference between Libre and Ripple XRP? They are both used to transfer to do transactions.
Dr. Ahmed?
Yes, do you need, is that was a question? I didn't hear it.
Yes. As I said, as I told you that we have one question. Okay. Can you repeat that again?
I cannot hear you. It's the sound is going up and down. Let me stop sharing. I'll stop sharing this one. Okay. Okay, so can you repeat the question, please? And bring the microphone close to your mouth. Thank you.
If Libre is used to do transactions, and it's like similar to Bitcoin and PayPal, what's the difference between Libre and Ripple and XRP, for example?
Okay. So talking about Libra, the new cryptocurrency for Facebook. Well, number one, it is $1 for one Libra. This is number one. And it's actually supported by a basket of currencies, euro, dollar, the different currencies, the fiat currencies that published by the governments. So it's not under the mercy of the fluctuations of the market. The $1 is one Libra. So let's say that I want to buy 1,000 Libra. I have to link my bank account to Facebook, and Facebook has their own wallet called Calibra, and then they will link it to my account. They'll take 1,000, and they will give me 1,000 Libra, and then I can use WhatsApp or Messenger to buy the product from the merchant who really part of that organization. I can use it for Uber, I can use it for Visa, and then let's say on the other side you have a store and you accept Libra. And then what you're going to do, you are selling your products and you collected 500 Libra. You can transfer that and to your bank. When you transfer it, they translate this one to the currency of your choice. Okay, 500 is $500. So it's 1 for 1. It's stable. That's why you know, they are pushing for that one. It's not with the fluctuations of the market.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Ahmed. Okay. Hello, Dr. Ahmed.
Yes, I'm still here.
Yes, I think that we don't have any questions here.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay. Many thanks, Dr. Ahmed.
No problem.
Sorry for annoying you at this early time.
No problem. It's okay. It's worth it, my friend. It's worth it.
Yes.
أجدع ناس. أجدع ناس. أجدع ناس.
We'll see. Thanks a lot.
في أمان الله. مع السلامة. في أمان الله.
مع السلامة. باي باي.